Hey guys, Tech Freckle here again. Today we're going to be going over the typography lesson. In this lesson, we'll focus on typography, the art of arranging text on a page. We look at how to style and transform fonts, how to lay text out on a page, and how to add external fonts to your web pages. Some of the most important information a user will see on a web page will be textual. Styling text to make page contents accessible and engaging can significantly improve user experience. Let's begin. In the browser, we have a blog site with fonts of different sizes and styles. In the following exercise, we'll learn how to manipulate fonts to create engaging interfaces. Once you have an idea of the general layout of the page, proceed to the next exercise. All right. Font family. You may remember from visual rules lesson that the font of an element can be changed using the font family property. In the example above, the font family for all H1 heading elements has been set to Arial. Let's talk about some of the things to keep in mind when setting font family values. Multi-word values. When specifying a typeface with multiple words, like Times New Roman, it is recommended to use quotation marks to group the words together like so. Web-safe fonts. There is a selection of fonts that will appear the same across all browsers and operating systems. These fonts are referred to as web-safe fonts. You can check out a complete list of web-safe fonts here. Fallback fonts and font stacks. Web-safe fonts are good fallback fonts that can be used if your preferred font is not available. In the example above, Georgia and Times New Roman are fallback fonts to Caslon. When you specify a group of fonts, you have what is known as a font stack. A font stack usually contains a list of similar-looking fonts. Here, the browser will first try to use the Caslon font. If that's not available, it will try to use a similar font, Georgia. And if Georgia is not available, it will try to use Times New Roman. Serif and sans serif. You may be wondering what feature make a font similar to another font. The fonts Caslon, Georgia, and Times New Roman are serif fonts. Serif fonts have extra details on the ends of each letter as opposed to sans serif fonts, which do not have the extra details. Serif and sans serifs are also keyword values that can be added as a final fallback font if nothing else in the font stack is available. In this final example, the font stack has 4 fonts. If the first 3 fonts aren't available, the browser will use whatever serif font is available on the system. In Style CSS, change the font family of the H1 element to Georgia. Georgia wants to automatically add the stack. In Style CSS, change the font family of the editorial elements to Trebuchet MS. It's all about the Trebuchet back in the day. Wololo. All right. Oh, right. Damn it. In Style CSS, use a font stack to give the editorial elements a fallback fonts of Times New Roman and sans serif. Boom, and we'll get rid of this. Right, cool. Next, font weight. In CSS, the font weight property controls how bold or thin text appears. It can be specified with keywords or numerical values. Keyword values. The font weight property can take any one of these keyword values: bold, normal, this is the default value, lighter, one font weight lighter than the element's parent value, bolder, one font weight bolder than the element's parent value. Numerical values. Numerical values can range from 1 lightest to 1000 boldest, but it is common practice to use increments of 100. A font weight of 400 is equal to the keyword value normal, and a font weight of 700 is equal to bold. In the example above, text elements in both left section and right section classes will appear bold. It's important to note that not all fonts can be assigned a numeric font weight, and not all numeric font weights are available to all fonts. It's a good practice to look up the font you are using to see which font weight values are available. Change the font weight of elements with the banner P selector to lighter. Change the font weight of the header class. List header to 900. Ooh. Font style. You can also italicize text with the font style property. The italic value causes text to appear in italics. The font style property also has a normal value, which is the default. The web page features 3 sections, Garamond, Helvetica, and Space Mono. Each of these sections includes a line with the name of the font creator, such as Claude Garamond. Let's italicize the creator's name on each of these cards in the style CSS. In the font card section, set the font style of font card creator to italic. Oh, italic. Text transformation. Text can only be styled to appear in either all uppercase or lowercase with the text transform property. The code in the example above formats all H1 elements to appear in uppercase, regardless of the case used for the heading within the HTML code. Alternatively, the lowercase value could be used to format text in all lowercase. Since text can be directly typed in all uppercase or lowercase within an HTML file, what is the point of a CSS rule that allows you to format lettercase? Depending on the type of content a web page displays, it may make sense to always style a specific element in all uppercase or lowercase letters. For example, a website that reports breaking news may decide to format all H1 heading elements such that they always appear in all uppercase, as in the example above. It would also avoid uppercase text in the HTML file, which could make code difficult to read. All right. Transform the text in the main heading H1 to appear uppercase. Ooh, there we go. Text layout. You've learned how to create text, or you've learned how text can be defined by font, family, weight, style, and transformations. Now you'll learn about some ways text can be displayed or laid out within the elements container. The letter spacing property is used to set the horizontal spacing between the individual characters in an element. It's not common to set the spacing between letters, but it can sometimes help the readability of certain fonts or styles. The letter spacing property takes length values in units, such as 2 pixels or 0.5 em. In the example above, each character in paragraph element will be separated by 2 pixels. Word spacing. You can set the space between words with word spacing property. It's also not common to increase the spacing between words, but it may help enhance the readability of bolded or enlarged text. The word spacing property also takes length values in units, such as 3 pixels or 0.2 em. In the example above, the word spacing is set to 0.3 em. For word spacing, use em values, or using em values I recommend because the spacing can be set based off the size of the font. Line height, the fastest cat, leading, font sizes, line height. Okay. We can use the line height property to show how tall we want each line containing our text to be. Line height values can be a unitless number such as 1.2 or a length value such as 12 pixels, 5%, or 2 em. In the example above, the height between the lines is set to 1.4. Generally, the unitless value is preferred since it is responsive based on the current font size. In other words, if the line height is specified by a unitless number, changing the font size will automatically readjust the line height. The text align property, which you may already be familiar with from the CSS visual rules section, aligns text to its parent element. The example above, H1 element is aligned to the right side instead of the default left. Let's put these new properties to work. In Style CSS, set the letter spacing of the H1 element to 0.3 em. Okay. Style CSS, set the word spacing for banner P to 0.25 em. Okay. Set the height in the banner P rule set to 1.4. Line height 1.4. Yeah, that looks actually looks a lot better. Oh, banner P. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, yeah, I noticed that the line change there when I did it on the banner element versus on the banner P. Set the text alignment of the P elements to justify. Is there just a P element? There is. Okay, so text align, justify. Ooh. All right. Web fonts. Previously, we learned about web-safe fonts, a group of fonts supported across browsers and operating systems. However, the fonts you can use for your website are limitless. Web fonts allow you to express your unique style through a multitude of different fonts found on the web. Free font services like Google Fonts and Adobe Fonts host fonts that you can link to from your HTML or link to, or that you can link to from your HTML. Okay, document with provided link element. You can also use fonts from paid font distributors like fonts.com by downloading and hosting them with the rest of your site's files. You can create a font face rule set in your style CSS style sheet to link to the relative path of the font file. Both techniques for including web fonts into your site allow you to go beyond the sometimes traditional appearances of web-safe fonts. In the next two exercises, you'll learn exactly how to use each of these techniques. Explore the different example fonts shown on the right, as well as the links to the font services above. When you're ready, click next to learn how to use them. All right. Bangers. Web fonts using link. Online font services like Google Fonts make it easy to find and link to fonts from your site. You can browse and select fonts that match the style of your website. When you select a font in Google Fonts, you'll be shown all of the different styles available for that particular font. You can then select the styles you want to use on your website. When you're done selecting a font and its styles, you can review your selected font family, and a link element will be automatically generated for you to use on your site. The generated link elements needs to be added to the head element in your HTML document for it to be ready to be used in your CSS. You can then create font family declarations in your CSS, just like how you learned to do with other fonts. Okay. The font at the bottom of the page under the monospaced section needs to be space mono. Let's fix it by linking to the space mono Google font. Space mono. In the list of style variations, find regular 400 and click plus regular 400. Get font. And no, don't want to do that. It's the link. Link. Okay. I think this has changed a while. Link element, paste it into the head element inside the index. Okay, install CSS inside the dot space rule set. Oh, crap. Space. create a declaration using the font family property with the space mono and mono space as the value. Web fonts using @fontface. Fonts can also be added using an @fontface rule set in your CSS style sheet instead of using a link element in your HTML document. As mentioned earlier, fonts can be downloaded just like any other file on the web. They come in a few different file formats such as OTF, TTF, WOFF, WOFF2. The different formats are a progression of standards for how fonts will work with different browsers, with WOFF2 being the most progressive. It's a good idea to include TTF, WOFF, and WOFF2 formats with your font face rule to ensure compatibility on all browsers. Let's take a look at how to use font face using the same Roboto font as before. Within the selected family section, you can use the download button to download the font files to your computer. The files will be downloaded in a single format. In this case, TTF. You can use additional tools to generate additional file types for WOFF and WOFF2. List of generators for more information. When you have the files you need, move them to a folder inside your website's working directory, and you're ready to use them in a font face rule set. All right, let's take a look in the example above. Line by line, font face @rule set is used as the selector. It's recommended to define the @font face rule set at the top of your CSS style sheet. Inside the declaration block, the font family property is used to set a custom name for the downloaded font. The name can be anything you choose, but it must be surrounded by quotation marks. In the example, the font is named My Paragraph Font, as this font will be used for all paragraphs. The SRC property contains 3 values, each specifying the relative path to the font file and its format. In this example, the font files are stored inside a folder named Fonts within the working directory. Note that the ordering for the different formats is important because our browser will start from the top of the list and search until it finds a font format that it supports. Read more on format prioritization on CSS tricks. Once the font face rule is defined, you can use the font in your style sheet. Like using any other fonts, you can use the font family property to set the font on any HTML document or element. The downloaded font can be referenced with the names you provided as the font family property's value in the font face. Rule set, in this case, My Paragraph Font. Let's change the font of the banner using local font files. If you open up the fonts directory using the file navigator and the code editor, you'll notice that we have added local font files. At the top of the file CSS, create a font face rule set and give it the font family property and Gligu banner. Okay, so we will do an @font face. That's how that one is. We'll put a space here just in case. And we're going to do font family. And what do we want this one to be called? Gligu banner. Boom. Okay. Boom. And within the font face rule, add a source property with the following paths and formats. Is there a source for each? No, it is just one separated by commas. So SRC, is it? Yes. And a format of WF. Okay, so we're going to do, it's a space format and boom. Okay. And then it's a comma. And then the next source format WAF. Next one is this URL. And it has a format of true type. Is it ended with anything? It is semicolon, the same as everything else. Okay. It just looks weird that it is like that and doesn't have like the yellow text or anything. Boom. And I fucked up. Is it not liking this? I mean, yeah, it's not. Format. I spelled it right. What the fuck? Okay. Source. URL fonts regular WAF2 format WAF2 URL fonts regular .wff format WFF URL regular and a format true type. With font face rule, add a source property with the following paths and formats in the following order. Did you add the source property with path values? Yes. What is going on? Source. Oh, they can't be the same line. Yeah, well, that's not it either. What the fuck? Font face rule. Add an SRC property with the following paths. Is it this dot that's killing it? Because it's not. So we're looking. I mean, oh, maybe that's why. Yeah, there was a space after. Okay. No, that wasn't it either. Oh, where the hell did the bracket after that go? Boom. So shit. What the fuck? Font family legal banner source URL. Okay. Format. One space. One space. I feel like I'm losing it. View the solution. How was mine? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I have two spaces after that? Okay. So I must have put a space, and then when I copied it, it maybe gave it another one. I do not know. I guess we can watch it back. What is this? SRC with property with path values. What is going on? It's like everything I'm doing is wrong. Oh, and now I misspelled format. You got to be shitting me. There we go. Wow. Maybe I shouldn't code. Inside the banner P rule set, add a declaration that sets the font family to Gligu banner with a font size of 20 pixels. All right, I can do that. That should be simple. Okay, so font family, we'll do Leo Gligu banner. Can I just do it without? Do I need? Okay, no, I need. Okay, oops. I actually closed it this time, and font size 20 pixels. All right, that was easy. Review. Great job. You learned how to style an important aspect of the user experience, typography. Let's review what you've learned so far. Typography is the art of arranging text on a page. Text can appear bold or thin with the font weight property. Text can appear in italics with the font style property. The vertical spacing between lines of text can be modified with the line height property. Serif fonts have extra details on the ends of each letter. Sans serif fonts do not. Fallback fonts are used when a certain font is not installed on a user's computer. The word spacing property changes how far apart individual words are. Letter spacing property changes how far apart individual letters are. The text align property changes the horizontal alignment of text. Google Fonts provides free fonts that can be used in HTML file with the link tag or the font face property. Local fonts can be added to a document with the font face property and the path to the font's source. Using your new knowledge of CSS typography, feel free to edit the code further to make the web page more appealing. All right, let's do the quiz. Okay, what does the following line of HTML code do? Link, href, fonts. Okay, so links to a font file and allows you to use the Lato font for a font family in CSS. Set the font to Lato for link elements. No. Import all fonts from Google Fonts. No. Set the default font. No. Boom. The following HTML code links to what Google font? Family Roboto. Family equals Roboto. So why might a user see the Times font with this CSS role? Okay, so Garmon didn't load. It's not available on the user computer, but Times is. How would the following CSS rule set affect paragraph P elements? Line height 1.5 sets the height of each line of text to 1.5 pixels. No. Create 1.5 pixels of space between sibling P elements. It adds 1.5 pixel margin around the P. Space will appear between the lines of text in the P element because the container for each line is 1.5 its default height. Boom. Why is it important to include web-safe fallback fonts? In case your custom fonts don't render, web-safe fonts provide a secondary option. Cool. What's the difference between serif and sans serif? Serif fonts include details. Boom. Following CSS code fails to see the typeface of the heading to Courier new. Why? Because it is not surrounded in quotations. So let's find that. Must be enclosed with double quotation marks. How does the CSS rule set affect H1 elements? Letter space 20 pixels. Okay, wow. We'll have 20 pixels of space between every letter. Which rule will make all H1 text uppercase? Text transform uppercase. All right, cool. Let's see. We got points. Wicked. All right, we will see you in the next video, which looks to be another project. See you there.